After suffering a climactic death during the Judgment Day storyline, Max Eisenhardt, Magneto himself, is set to return to the land of the living. In the previous installment of Resurrection of Magneto, readers got to see Max work with the Roro to find a reason to come back to life. My name is Article Brannock, and today, let's go ahead and detail the pages of Resurrection of Magneto Issue 3. Before we get deeper into the video, I want to encourage you to consider subscribing to the channel. Falls the shadow. In the cold, dark rooms beyond death, there are terrible things. Annihilators, adversaries, and a king of shadows, who seeks a new soul to live in. The time of easy miracles is over for Storm and Magneto. All roads lead back to life are hard, and this is the hardest road of them all. Resurrection of Magneto Issue 3 is written from Ewing, featuring artwork from Luciano Vecchio. We have colors from David Curiel and Jesus Aburtov, letters from VC's Joe Sabino, and design from Tom Muller and Jay Bowen. The cover on Resurrection of Magneto 3 is still illustrated from Stefano Caselli and Jesus Aburtov. I think this image showcasing Max trying to battle and escape the clutches of the Shadow King is so interesting here. Want to expand a thank you to Adventures in Poor Taste and detail some of the first couple pages of Resurrection of Magneto 3 introduced from interior artist Luciano Vecchio. I really found that the return to the Annihilation mask seen in some recent pages of X-Men Red was such a fascinating plot thread for Al Ewing to dig up during this late-stage Krakoan era for the X-Men. Also, the posturing and the way that Al Ewing is able to write some of these caption boxes across this particular issue is so exciting, and I think fuels Resurrection of Magneto with just a sense of awe that X-Men Red always carried, especially when it got to the huge and bombastic battle scenes. Despite the fact that Resurrection of Magneto has two color artists with Jesus Aburtov and David Curiel, I still found the artwork across this particular chapter to be incredibly cohesive. Also, I am just so struck with the way that Vecchio was able to capture motion in some of these sequences as well. Watching the Mask of Annihilation slowly reveal the presence of the Shadow King in the final panel on this page is so enthralling. I also think there are so many great expressions for Storm captured across Resurrection of Magneto that fits so nicely with so much of the prose and narration that Al Ewing writes for the dialogue. Really, Resurrection of Magneto 3 is a big character piece, spotlighting some of the previous mistakes that Magneto made, as well as checking in on Storm's characterization during the most recent elements of Krakoa. Watching Magneto kind of argue with himself and face some of the mistakes of his past was actually pretty interesting in this issue, despite the fact that we already explored so much of these plot threads with some of the individuals that Magneto killed in the last installment of the series. Resurrection of Magneto 3 is paced incredibly well to not step on some of the toes of the previous installment and still move this story forward. In fact, I was really struck with the fact that Resurrection of Magneto continued to build on so much of that baggage that Max has experienced throughout the Krakoan era of comics, and without so many of those plot threads kind of festering within the narrative, I don't know if this comic book would have felt as true to the page as I would have liked for it to be. So at the end of the day, I think Resurrection of Magneto 3 is just a wonderful comic book, nicely setting the stage for the next stages of the Fall of X storyline. I am so excited to hopefully see Magneto join some of our fellow mutants in striking back against Orcus. I also think that Al Ewing is so great with some of the narrative framework between Storm and Max in this issue. It feels like their relationship is getting so close. I know we referenced this in the context of the last review of Resurrection of Magneto, but this one I feel really pivots these characters into different contexts than what we've seen recently. I want to know from you, are you as mystified and intrigued by this chapter of Resurrection of Magneto as I am? What do you think about the way Al Ewing was able to leverage some of the dialogue and villains across this chapter of the series? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you one last time for coming to check out our video review on Resurrection of Magneto Issue 3, and we'll be back to chart the end of the Krakoan Age of Comics. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon. Bye.